Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to continue on with today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Job, Elephant Jake, Randy Wheeler. No context on the track, we're just going to dive straight into this, see what's going on. Never heard of Elephant Jake before, so this should be interesting. Let's check it out. Yeah, interesting. It's kind of like mathy folk. Okay. The folk's kind of gone, but shift into the palm mute to bring it down. We're going to open it back up now. Interesting, our right guitar is very rhythmically based. Oh! You got a Richardondo going on? Very cool moment. Really smooth there. A fast Richardondo, but worthwhile. That was not a sudden transition. All right. Yeah, that's a wild fun time. It's kind of Midwest emo, it's kind of math rock, it's kind of pop rock. or sorry, pop punk, although there is some pop rock elements in there too. The vocalist sounds like he's trying to channel some indie rock mixed with the dude from Blink 182, and it just comes across as a really fun time, even though I don't think some of the lyrics I heard were necessarily fun. But musically, it's just very energetic, playful, bouncing. Uh, yeah, and the thing is, there's so much going on, which is going to be the first talking point here. It's just counterpoint everywhere, all of it, all of the time. We have our left guitar just math rocking it up. Tons of double tapped ideas, playing around with dual sounds, little flourishy 16th note trills going on in there. I know they're not trills on a guitar, just bear with me. Our right guitar is rhythmically juxtaposed heavily to our left, but is primarily acting as our chordal ideas, trying to be a foundation. But what's really interesting is I never really get that vibe. It is what they're doing. They pick a chord and then they riff on it rhythmically. And it juxtaposes the rhythms from our guitar, it juxtaposes the rhythms in our drums, it juxtaposes the rhythm in our vocals. It is separate within its own realm. So even though it is playing chords, it feels like another unique layer here rather than a foundational component for everything else to be built on. So, they're in opposition. Then our vocals are just doing their own thing, and it's a bit more palatable. They bring more of a focus on the typical 4/4 pulse throughout here. It's what makes all of this feel more listenable. It brings a palatability to it all. Once again, like I mentioned, through the lens of like pop rock, indie, and pop punk. There's also like a colloquial element to it. It just feels like the lines keep going. There aren't clear points where I would say, oh, that's the end of a line or this is the end of a stanza. It kind of feels like he's just talk singing through this, almost like, well, like if I sat up here and sung my thoughts rather than express them through typical speech, it would still kind of just be this constant idea of this constant string of ideas without any breaks between them. It would just be melodic and possibly even rhythmic. And that's kind of what this feels like. It's just a string of ideas being presented in a musical form, almost like being spoken to. It's really interesting. The drums are providing us as much foundation as they can as far as rhythm goes while still playing into some of the mathier, more complex rhythmic ideas. And so they're providing polyrhythmic concepts, and the bass is usually in with these polyrhythmic concepts, helping to add extra width to the accents that usually the bass kick is leaning into against the 4/4 pulse that we're hearing elsewhere in the drums. As expected with anything math rock related, just the whole metric concept here is very front and center, but they try to find a really nice middle ground of bringing that metric complexity against a pretty typical flow for the track, being that most of it, I think all of it, is in 4/4. Now, harmonically, this is very bright and bubbly. It's what gives me that punk rock feel. Sorry, pop rock feel, or even pop punk. It's got a lot of energy, forward momentum, bright chord progressions, a little bit of tension here and there, but overall, it's a very, I don't necessarily want to say joyful, but it is a positive, upbeat song when you exclude some of the lyrical elements um, from beginning to end. And it does remind me of other math rock bands. I mean, this is sort of their bread and butter. Same with even Midwest emo, not necessarily the core element of that. But when Midwest emo began that period when some of those bands were pushing more towards mathier elements and bringing in brighter chord progressions, and even as we push towards pop emo, um, it is kind of wild just how many places this song takes influence from and somehow smashes them together in a way that works. But we also never lose that intensity. Even in moments where we have less moving ideas, there's always an instrument playing with flourish that allows for, faster 16th notes to get interjected amongst other, rhythmic diversity that keeps the song bouncy, fresh, syncopated, upbeat, while still adding that complexity. There's always that drive, that momentum forward. Some instrument is providing it. Um, but on top of all that, there's also a comedic element here. I don't know if it's necessarily something they intended, but there are multiple sections in here that gave me a chuckle. One of them I think was pretty apparent was when he said something like maybe I should do this, and then the side voice came in on the right side and just said, "We'll just do it." Just like very plain spoken word. I think most of the instruments cut out too, so that it could be very present despite being pushed off to the side. Very comical. It reminds me of dang, can't remember the song. I'm pretty sure My Chemical Romance has done that before, as has the Used. It might actually be more prevalent in pop adjacent emo and rock than I had anticipated. Because I'm pretty sure Fall Out Boy's done it too. Oh, My Chem did it in I'm Not Okay in the breakdown or the bridge, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So yeah, that actually is sort of like a little bit of a tradition in this type of music. And it always makes me laugh. It catches you off guard because it moves out of a musical context into a spoken word context. Like I mentioned, the instruments cut out in this one. I'm pretty sure they cut out in the My Chem one as well. It's just a moment for a single voice to shine and basically disrupt the song and put a spoken sentence in there that usually juxtaposes what's going on linguistically as well. Like this one said, "Should I do it?" And the guy just says, "Just do it." That kind of idea. Like I don't remember if that was the exact words, but so yeah, that was kind of comical. But there was also a trade-off where one of the guitars was doing something. I wish I could remember the exact situation. And they like stopped, and another guitar picked it up, but did something like put a twist on it that I found comical. But yeah, it's very lighthearted. I think that's the word I've been wanting to use this whole time and haven't. It's not necessarily joyful, but it is lighthearted. It's almost has an innocence to it musically, um, that I think plays well into this comedic element that I picked up a couple of times throughout here. But even with all of these things, these adjectives I've used to describe the song as innocent and upbeat and poppy, it is massively complex. Despite having a non-complex structure, I feel like there are only like three sections in here, maybe four, and they're all similarly built off of this idea of foundational guitar doing rhythmic stuff, math guitar doing all sorts of crazy stuff, pretty straight pop vocals, and then the drum and bass presenting counter. Uh, what is the word? No, not counter. It's polyrhythms against the pulse and the syncopated idea. Almost every single idea in here is built off of that foundation, and so a lot of it, especially since this is a genre I don't have a lot of experience with, tends to feel very similar to me. I'm not able to hear a lot of the nuance here, and I think that the 4 minute runtime benefits it, at least to my ears. The complexity is both a little exhausting while being too repetitive, even though I think most of the sections had a unique riff to them. They were all sort of this flourishy tapping guitar work. And so they all kind of blurred together into just this unified idea of tapping guitar stuff. But I think that's just, I'm going to chalk that up to me, my ears, my listening experience, not anything to do with the band, because I'm pretty sure I've had the same comment about other math adjacent guitar work as well. Overall, though, I really enjoyed this. I'm gonna have to check out more. There's a huge area of Midwest emo and adjacent styles that I wish I would have found out years ago when I was really big into emo music. I mean, I still enjoy it, but um, I would have loved to dig into a lot of. And this was 2012. I mean, it's more recent than most of my references for emo, but it's still a bit of an older. Wait, did I say 2012? When is this? Oh, this was released 2022. I don't know where I got 2012 from. Maybe that was the track I just listened to. Manes. I don't know anymore. I have no idea where that date was in my head. Yeah, this was just. I'm gonna have to dig into this now. Like, just straight up add it to my listen list at the moment. Anything else I want to talk about? Guitar work, complexity, influences, construction. Nope, that's about it. I'm gonna hit some lyrics and we'll wrap this up. There's a duality in the lyrics here that I'm trying to reconcile, figure out what they have to do with each other. Half of it, or maybe a third of it, seems to be focused on this Randy person. The name of the track, Randy Wheeler. It says he's got an opinion, and I think that I disagree, but I'm chalking it up to a different style of humor that's lost on me. You seem kind of familiar, because you think and you talk like me, and impossible though this attempt may be, I'm always trying. So we're kind of getting an idea of who this Randy is, and actually doesn't come back up for a while later when our vocalist describes feeling like they're drowning at the bottom of the water, um, and Randy says, "Hey," pulls him up, says, "I'll help you put your plan in motion." He says, "But Randy doesn't look at you like people. He's got money on the Oh, I see where this all. Okay, I see where this is going now." Says that he's got money on the mind. He's got dollars in his eyes. Throwing around ideas that should be lethal. He doesn't want to compromise. Prior to this, those are the only times that Randy comes up. By the way, prior to this, we kind of take a moment to look at the singer's environment and who's around them. And he consistently comes up with the ideas of time is passing you by, you need to do what you want to do. He says, there's people around me that are just like, that's cool, whatever, and things ain't even worth trying to do. And they just, he doesn't really feel sympathy for them because they're not even trying to achieve their goals. They're going to be 30, 40, 50 before they even know it, maybe even older. Time just flies. You need to attempt your dreams today, because they're not gonna wait for you. Time ain't waiting. And so the chorus says, "Decide what matters. Pursuit of more. Look at me when I ask you if you're sure. So get planning every single day. Prioritize and sacrifice. You can't do it all, or you're missing the chance I'm giving you now. So take it." Yeah, it just says, figure out what you want to do. What are your dreams? What are your passions? Prioritize things, You might have a list that's 3 miles long. Well, pick the top three. Start working on them today. That kind of idea. Don't allow yourself to get paralyzed. Uh, don't allow your life to stagnate. Don't be comfortable. And so, right after the first time we hit this chorus, though, it says, "I'm drowning at the bottom of the ocean. I can't breathe. I can't stand. I can't see. But I see him, I feel him smile." And this is where Randy helps him out of the water, metaphorically. And I think Randy might be like a record label guy, metaphorically, for record labels in general. Because he says he doesn't see you as people. He's got money on the mind. And so you might be making art, but he sees you're making a product for consumption, that kind of idea. And so our narrator, this is their passion. You know, whatever it is that Randy can help them with, but their passion is art and Randy's passion is money, and they have to work together. Otherwise, our narrator will drown. And this is what, this is his story. I did what I had to do to pursue my dreams. I had to work with somebody who I disagree with, maybe because their style of humor is lost on me. But as we see later, there's also just a separation of intentions. They both want the same thing to happen. They want whatever their goal is to be done, but our narrator views it as an artistic pursuit, um, while Randy doesn't. But that's the sacrifice that our narrator makes in order to prioritize this goal and follow through with it. He says, I've watched people around me who work until they die. He says, that ain't gonna be me though. Yeah. Not much to do with the music as expected. I had mentioned that I picked up on a couple of more negative, uh, down, upbeat is bright. What is downbeat? Is that what I want? Anyway, it's just not as bright in the lyrics as the music was. I didn't really catch any darkness or juxtaposing ideas. The music just as a whole is very bright and bouncy to me, and so there's a juxtaposition there, but it's also just what I assumed was going to happen. There's a lot of poppy adjacent music uh, that tends to have more negative lyrics but doesn't change the music to reflect it. So yeah, not much of a crossover thematically between the two, but that's pretty typical. Those are my thoughts on Randy Wheeler by the group Elephant Jake. If you enjoyed this, like I said, the album just came out last year, November, so I mean it's practically a 2023 release in my eyes. um, those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed this, let me know down in the comments. Give me your thoughts, opinions, perspectives, any of that. Put it all down there. Above the comment section in the description box is a link for Linktree. It'll take you here. You can find my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to wrap up this week. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.